The Vikings beat winter without fire, using an ancient heated floor hack that modern homes still tend to ignore. The Vikings survived brutal winters without stoking fires all night, and they did it from the ground up. That's not a metaphor. It's literal. While much of Europe burned wood endlessly just to stay alive, Norse homes stayed warm because of what was under their feet. No chimneys, no furnaces, no modern insulation, just an ancient floor system so effective that, honestly, parts of it are still misunderstood today. And once you see how it worked, modern houses suddenly feel badly designed. Here's the interesting part. This wasn't about comfort. It was about survival. Fire was precious. Smoke was dangerous. Wood was limited. Vikings couldn't afford to keep flames burning through long polar nights. So instead, they engineered warmth into the structure of the home itself. And they did it centuries before modern heating science caught up. Winter was the real enemy. For the Vikings, cold wasn't seasonal. It was constant pressure. Scandinavia during the Viking Age was defined by long winters, frozen ground, short daylight, and relentless wind. A single failed winter could wipe out a household. Firewood had to be harvested, dried, stored, and rationed. Too much fire meant wasted resources. Too little meant sickness or death. Smoke inhalation was another threat. Early hearths filled homes with fumes. Too much indoor fire damaged lungs, eyes, and sleep. Vikings understood this through experience, not theory. So instead of fighting winter with bigger fires, they changed the battlefield. They changed the floor. At first glance, a Viking longhouse looked simple. Long, narrow, low, but that shape was deliberate. Low ceilings trapped warm air. Thick turf walls blocked wind. Roofs layered with sod added mass and insulation. But the real genius sat beneath the packed earth floor. Many Viking homes used layered floors made from stone, gravel, clay, and organic material. These weren't random choices. They were thermal tools. Stone absorbed heat during the day. Clay slowed heat loss. Gravel allowed drainage while preventing frost heave. Beneath it all, the ground itself acted as a massive thermal battery. Once warmed, it released heat slowly for hours, sometimes days. This is where myths fall apart. Vikings were not running underground furnaces like the Romans. They didn't need hypocaust systems. Their solution was quieter, simpler, and better suited to limited resources. The central hearth was used sparingly, not as a constant heat source, but as a charger. When the fire burned, heat radiated downward into the stone and earth beneath the floor. That thermal mass soaked it up. When the fire died, the warmth didn't vanish. It rose back into the room slowly, evenly, and silently. No sparks, no smoke, no wasted energy. This is radiant heating in its earliest practical form. Now, this gets clever. Vikings didn't sleep in raised beds like modern homes. They slept on platforms or benches built along the walls. These areas were positioned where rising warmth from the floor collected. Animal skins, wool, and layered textiles trapped body heat, but the warmth below did half the work. Even during deep winter, the sleeping areas stayed above freezing without active fire. This wasn't luxury. It was calculated efficiency. The floor did the heating. The bedding did the insulation. The fire only started the process. Earth as insulation, not just dirt. You know, modern thinking often treats soil as something cold, maybe even lifeless. But the Vikings, well, they saw it differently. They treated earth as storage. The earth beneath a house, it actually stays at a pretty stable temperature all year round. In winter, it's warmer than the biting air above. Vikings, they built right into that reality. Floors were usually sunk just a bit below ground level, not enough to risk flooding, but just enough to tap into that thermal stability. This clever trick reduced heat loss dramatically. Turf walls took the idea even further, extending it vertically. Thick layers of sod acted as insulation, honestly, not so different from what we use today, trapping warmth inside and blocking out the wind. The whole house became a sealed thermal envelope centuries before anyone even had a name for it. So, why did this work so well in extreme cold? Here's the secret most folks miss. Cold air is the real enemy. It's moving air that actually steals your heat away. Vikings designed their homes to stop airflow first, then manage temperature second. That meant minimal windows, tight construction, and centralized space. Once the inside warmed up, even just a bit, it stayed warm. With a constantly burning fire, you get these swings. Hot, then cold, then hot again. But Viking floors, they created stability. And well, stable warmth keeps bodies alive a lot longer than bursts of heat ever could. Now, let's connect the dots here. Modern homes, they rely on forced air heating. Warm air rises, sure, but that means floors stay cold and heat escapes through the ceilings. So much energy just gets wasted. The Vikings, though, they flipped that whole equation. Heat started low and rose naturally, staying right where people actually lived. Radiant floor heating systems today, they use the same principle, but they're expensive, complex, and often advertised as some sort of cutting-edge innovation. The Vikings did it all with stone, dirt, and a bit of practical physics. No wires, no pipes, no dependence on fuel, just, well, understanding. This wasn't trial and error over a single generation. Archaeological evidence shows consistency across regions and centuries. That means this was taught, passed down, and, refined. Vikings didn't write engineering manuals, but they built living textbooks. Every longhouse was proof of concept. When a system keeps families alive through decades of harsh winters, it doesn't get forgotten. It gets repeated, and it worked. The floor was the silent hero of survival. Now, when people think of Viking survival, they usually think of axes, ships and raids. But winter didn't care about reputation. The real victory was quiet, warm feet, clear lungs, fires that didn't need feeding all night. The floor did the work while people slept. That's the kind of technology history rarely celebrates, but never forgets. What this teaches us about ancient intelligence is honestly pretty remarkable. Vikings didn't have modern science, but they sure understood outcomes. They observed heat behavior, respected material properties, and designed for efficiency because, well, waste meant death. This wasn't primitive living. It was optimized living. And it proves something important. Advanced solutions don't require advanced tools. They just require understanding the environment and working with it instead of against it. That lesson is as relevant now as it was 1,000 years ago. the forgotten genius beneath our feet. So, the next time you step onto a cold floor in winter, just remember this. 1,000 years ago, people without electricity, gas or insulation solved this problem permanently. They didn't fight winter with fire. They outsmarted it with the ground itself. And that ancient floor hack still waits, mostly ignored beneath modern homes today. If you enjoy uncovering the real survival intelligence of the past, this is exactly what Before Modern Times is about. Like the video if this changed how you think about history. Share it with someone who loves forgotten knowledge. And, hey, subscribe if you want more true stories of how ancient people survived without modern technology. Because the past isn't outdated, it's underestimated.